For thousands of years, Atlantis has hovered between legend and possibility. Described as a magnificent island empire that vanished in a single catastrophic night, many dismissed the tale as pure mythology. Yet as modern science digs deeper into ancient coastlines, lost cities, and sudden geological disasters, echoes of Plato's story begin to feel strangely familiar. This is the evidence suggesting Atlantis might not be fiction at all. Subscribe for more hidden histories brought back to light. The story of Atlantis originates not from folklore or sailors' tales, but from Plato, one of history's greatest philosophers. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, he describes an advanced maritime civilization located beyond the Pillars of Heracles, which most scholars interpret as the Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantis was portrayed as wealthy, powerful, and technologically capable, boasting canals, ports, and temples adorned with precious metals. Plato claimed Atlantis existed 9,000 years before his own era, placing it around 11,600 years ago. This date initially seemed impossible, but modern archaeology shows that complex societies may have emerged earlier than once believed, and that catastrophic climate shifts occurred around that same period. This curious overlap has encouraged researchers to revisit the legend with fresh eyes. In Plato's story, Atlantis wasn't just rich. It was ambitious. Its people embarked on military campaigns that reached as far as ancient Egypt and the Mediterranean. According to the narrative, Athens resisted Atlantis' aggression, and after a failed invasion, the gods punished Atlantis with earthquakes and floods, sinking the island in a single night. This combination of war, moral downfall, and natural disaster mirrors many real ancient collapses. For centuries, scholars debated whether Plato invented Atlantis as an allegory. But even if he exaggerated, many ancient storytellers built legends on fragments of real events. Civilizations have vanished before, buried under ash, swallowed by the sea, or erased by earthquakes. The question is not whether Atlantis was exactly as Plato described, but whether a real society inspired the story. One of the strongest scientific parallels comes from the eruption of Thera, modern Santorini, around 1600 BCE. This explosion devastated the Minoan civilization and remains one of the most powerful volcanic events in recorded history. The eruption produced tsunamis, ash clouds, and the sudden disappearance of entire settlements. For many researchers, Thera demonstrates how a highly advanced maritime culture could vanish rapidly, much like Atlantis. Diving teams exploring the submerged parts of Santorini have found roads, walls, and buildings buried beneath volcanic debris. The architecture reveals a sophisticated society with indoor plumbing, art, and international trade connections. While not Atlantis itself, the Minoans offer a real-world example of a Bronze Age civilization whose destruction resembles aspects of Plato's tale. Another compelling location proposed for Atlantis lies near the Strait of Gibraltar, the region Plato specifically referenced. Here, underwater surveys have uncovered traces of ancient structures, stone blocks, and circular formations that some argue match the concentric rings described by Plato. Most findings remain debated, but the geography fits his description better than many other hypotheses. Maritime archaeologists studying the Atlantic seabed near southern Spain have discovered signs of ancient settlements that were swallowed by rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. These submerged structures, walls, ditches, and pottery fragments, reveal that coastal cities once existed in places now deep underwater. Their destruction aligns with the time frame Plato suggested. The sudden flooding of large coastal regions at the end of the Ice Age is well documented. Meltwater pulses caused sea levels to rise more than 100 meters globally, transforming shorelines and submerging entire landscapes. A city built near the coast could vanish completely, leaving only scattered remains for future scientists to uncover. This geological reality gives weight to Atlantis' dramatic disappearance. Beyond the Atlantic, researchers have explored North Africa for clues. Ancient texts describe fertile lands and vast river networks that once existed where the Sahara now lies. Some satellite imagery reveals hints of buried riverbeds and former lakes. If a maritime culture thrived in this region before it turned into desert, its memory could have survived in stories later retold by Mediterranean civilizations. One particularly intriguing site is the Richet structure in Mauritania, a massive circular formation resembling Plato's description of Atlantis' concentric rings. Though likely geological in origin, the site's shape sparked debate. Some theorists argue that an ancient city might have existed around its edges before erosion transformed it. While no conclusive evidence supports this, its unusual geography adds to the aura of possibility. Egyptian records provide another layer of mystery. Plato claimed his story came from Egyptian priests who described a powerful civilization that existed long before Greece. While no Egyptian writing explicitly names Atlantis, their archives do contain references to great floods, vanished kingdoms, and ancient seafaring cultures. Some scholars believe these traditions may have influenced Plato's narrative. Archaeologists have found evidence that ancient Egyptians traded with far-reaching peoples long before their civilization reached its peak. These interactions might have brought stories of distant lands, some real, some exaggerated. Atlantis could have been one such tale, rooted in memories of a society devastated by natural disaster long before Egypt emerged. Perhaps the most astonishing scientific support for Atlantis' timeline comes from climate data. Around 11,600 years ago, the very time Plato referenced, the Earth experienced a sudden warming event known as the end of the Younger Dryas. This shift melted glaciers rapidly, caused massive floods, and altered coastlines across the globe. Many regions experienced disasters exactly like those in Plato's account. During this period, some coastal settlements would have been inundated by water, while earthquakes triggered by shifting ice loads destabilized entire regions. Although Atlantis may not have been a single city, the global upheaval of this era could have inspired tales of a world-shattering flood passed down through generations. One of the most common criticisms of the Atlantis story is its scale. Plato described an empire with extraordinary engineering feats. Massive canals, temples plated with metals, and landworks beyond typical Bronze Age capabilities. But as archaeology pushes back dates for advanced constructions worldwide, Atlantis no longer seems impossible. From Göbekli Tepe to ancient submerged structures off Japan, early societies were more capable than once believed. Marine archaeologists argue that because most ancient civilizations developed along coastlines, a significant portion of early human history now lies underwater. Rising seas have swallowed thousands of kilometers of prehistoric settlements. Atlantis could be one of many lost civilizations. Its remains hidden beneath layers of sediment, its story preserved only in fragments. Recent underwater expeditions near Cadiz, Spain uncovered stone anchors, walls, and what appears to be a large circular harbor structure. Some interpret these as remnants of Tartessos, a wealthy ancient culture believed to have vanished suddenly. Others argue the site could represent a memory that later evolved into the Atlantis narrative, merging fact with philosophical embellishment. While not conclusive, these discoveries show that real cities have disappeared beneath waves in ways eerily similar to Plato's account. The possibility of Atlantis as a composite memory grows stronger as each submerged find reveals how fragile coastal settlements can be. Plato's account also emphasizes moral decay. The idea that Atlantis fell not only because of natural disaster, but also because of its own arrogance and greed. Ancient societies often framed collapses as moral lessons. Yet geological evidence shows that moral interpretations often sit atop very real catastrophes. Earthquakes, eruptions, and tsunamis that reshaped entire regions. The Thera eruption again offers a helpful parallel. Archaeological evidence shows that prosperity and complexity do not protect a society from nature's unpredictability. The Minoans possessed art, architecture, and trade networks, yet a single eruption crippled their civilization. Plato's dramatic language about Atlantis may have been built on memories of similarly devastating events. Another angle involves ancient seafaring. The Mediterranean and Atlantic host some of the earliest examples of ocean navigation. Mariners in these waters traveled farther and faster than previously believed, reaching islands and coastlines long before classical civilizations. A city like Atlantis, built on maritime power, fits comfortably within this emerging understanding. Sonar studies along the underwater ridges of the Atlantic occasionally reveal patterns resembling human-made structures. Researchers remain cautious. Nature often imitates architecture. But these findings fuel interest. Some formations appear too geometric to dismiss immediately. Ongoing analyses attempt to differentiate between natural rock formations and ancient construction. A surprising clue comes from ice cores taken in Greenland. Layers of ash embedded within the cores match volcanic eruptions that occurred around the time of the alleged Atlantis destruction. These eruptions were large enough to affect global climate, producing storms and sea level surges capable of reshaping coastlines and drowning settlements. Geologists studying underwater landslides in the Atlantic have identified events known as marine megaslides. One such collapse, the Storegga Slide, generated tsunamis that devastated coastlines thousands of kilometers away. If a city sat along a vulnerable shelf, such an event could erase it in minutes, leaving little behind but scattered debris. The existence of these megaslides proves that sudden continental collapses are not fantasy. They are geological reality. Plato's dramatic language about the ground collapsing beneath Atlantis may reflect descriptions of such events retold through generations until they became part of myth. Another important aspect is the structure of Plato's writing. He takes pride in stating that Atlantis' story came from Egyptian priests who preserved ancient histories more diligently than Greeks. While this claim is debated, it mirrors a real dynamic. Egypt had archives spanning millennia. It is plausible that memories of earlier civilizations survived in those records. What many forget is that Plato never finished Critias. The text ends abruptly, as if the final details of Atlantis were lost or intentionally unwritten. Some historians believe he planned to weave a cautionary tale, while others think he was drawing on sources he never fully understood. The incomplete nature of the story adds mystery rather than diminishing it. Archaeological discoveries along the Mediterranean coast reveal multiple lost cities that resemble parts of Plato's story. Like in Greece, known as the real Atlantis, sank during an earthquake in 373 BCE and was rediscovered underwater centuries later. Its sudden disappearance closely mirrors Plato's descriptions, suggesting such events were more common than assumed. Helic's rediscovery gave scholars a new framework. Atlantis might have been a real city whose memory expanded over centuries into legend. If one Greek city could vanish overnight, why not another earlier, larger one described by Egyptian priests? The sea has a long history of swallowing civilizations. Plato's mention of a powerful navy also aligns with archaeological evidence of extensive ancient maritime cultures. The Phoenicians, Minoans, and Egyptians all possessed fleets capable of long-distance travel. It is not unreasonable to believe that an early naval power could once have existed west of the Mediterranean, or that its memory migrated inland through oral tradition. In southern Spain, excavations revealed the remains of an ancient culture known as Tartessos, famed for wealth and metalwork. Some speculate that Tartessos, destroyed by catastrophe, may have influenced the Atlantis legend. The region's geology shows signs of both ancient flooding and seismic activity, strengthening connections between myth and reality. Plato also describes Atlantis as having fertile plains, a central city surrounded by water channels and mountains behind it. These details closely resemble landscapes now submerged along the coasts of Spain and Morocco. Sea level rise could easily hide such topography, leaving only faint traces for future researchers. Many scientists argue that even if Atlantis itself never existed, the world's coastlines hold enough lost settlements to validate every detail in Plato's account. Our modern maps reflect a tiny snapshot of Earth's history. Beneath the waves lie countless forgotten cities, ports, and civilizations erased by nature's force. Underwater archaeology is still in its early stages. Advances in multi-beam sonar and submersible drones allow researchers to capture images of seafloor structures never before seen. Some of these structures appear organized, patterned, and suspiciously artificial. Though caution is necessary, each year expands the list of underwater anomalies requiring explanation. One of the most compelling cases for Atlantis' reality comes from genetic studies. Some ancient DNA samples show links between Mediterranean populations and groups once thought isolated. This suggests far-reaching maritime travel in prehistoric times, supporting the idea that advanced seafaring societies existed long before classical civilizations documented them. Other scholars focus on technology. Plato describes Atlantis using metals such as orichalcum, long believed mythical. But excavation in Sicily uncovered ingots chemically similar to descriptions of orichalcum. These findings show that legends sometimes preserve real materials, forgotten or renamed through the centuries. A key question remains. If Atlantis was real, where are its ruins? The answer may lie in sediment. Coastal cities buried under silt can remain hidden for thousands of years. The Mediterranean and Atlantic coasts are filled with thick layers of mud and sand, capable of burying entire cities deeper than sonar can currently reach. The Azores, a volcanic archipelago in the Atlantic, has gained attention due to unusual underwater terraces and stone formations nearby. Some believe these structures might indicate ancient human activity during lower sea levels. Although this evidence is debated, the region fits Plato's geographic hints and remains a focus of ongoing investigation. In recent expeditions, researchers detected possible ruins off the coast of Cadiz using side-scan sonar. The images revealed rectangular patterns that resemble foundations. While natural rock formations can mimic architecture, geologists admit the site's symmetry is unusual. Plans for deeper surveys hint that the next major discovery may come from this region. Beyond specific locations, the broader scientific picture supports the possibility of a lost civilization. Rising water, massive geological events, thriving ancient seafaring cultures, and the repeated destruction of coastal cities. Atlantis may have been one such casualty. Exaggerated through retellings, yet rooted in a real event. The fascination with Atlantis persists because it sits at the border of knowledge and imagination. It is a story that feels too grand to dismiss entirely, yet too vague to confirm. Each new discovery, sunken ports, ancient shipwrecks, forgotten coastlines, tilts the balance toward possibility. What makes Plato's account compelling is its specificity. He provides measurements, directions, and descriptions far more detailed than typical myths. While his numbers may be symbolic rather than literal, they suggest he was drawing from an older source, not inventing the story entirely. The structure of his narrative resembles historical recounting more than fictional allegory. Many geologists argue that the end of the Ice Age created conditions capable of spawning myths like Atlantis. Entire landscapes were transformed in a single lifetime. People living near coasts witnessed catastrophic floods, tsunamis, and land collapses. These events would have been seared into cultural memory and retold for generations, eventually merging into larger legends. Archaeological teams working along submerged European coastlines continue to discover tools, hearths, and structures dating back more than 8,000 years. Evidence that many early populations lived where the sea now lies. Their cities and stories may never be fully recovered, but their existence makes Atlantis feel less like an outlier and more like a forgotten chapter of human settlement. The question may not be whether Atlantis existed exactly as Plato described, but whether it represents a cultural memory of a society lost to natural disaster. Cultures around the world, from India to the Americas, have flood myths describing ancient lands swallowed by the sea. This coincidence suggests shared experiences at the end of the Ice Age. As technology improves, underwater exploration becomes more precise. LiDAR mapping, deep-sea drones, and sill-penetrating radar could eventually detect structures currently invisible to us. Each new method adds clarity to a world we scarcely understand beneath the waves. Scientists believe we have explored less of the ocean floor than the surface of Mars. The most intriguing part of the Atlantis story is not its grandeur, but its plausibility. Every year, new discoveries make early civilizations seem more connected, more capable, and more vulnerable to natural disaster than previously imagined. Atlantis is no longer simply a myth. It is a hypothesis with growing circumstantial evidence, waiting for confirmation. Atlantis may never be found exactly as Plato described it, but science increasingly supports the idea that an advanced society could have risen and fallen long before recorded history. Whether located near Spain, Santorini, or somewhere still unknown, the possibility of a real Atlantis lingers. Buried beneath sediment, preserved in legend, and waiting for the next expedition to reveal what the sea has hidden for millennia.